I could potentially have a cure for cancer under my bed right now, but still I will be an immigrant on an H-1B visa who is bound by the same rules and conditions that are set on visa holders. So finding my first job, just because of the fact that I was on a work visa, it's a lot of companies are not very pro immigration. So once you clear multiple rounds, and then you finally reach that final round, they're like, "Oh, you're on a visa." Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. We have to rescind the offer.
Welcome to The Lisa Show, where we take a good look at life. Hi, this is Lisa. Now, for the vast majority of us, at some point or another, we're going to move. Often it's just from one neighborhood to another, maybe a couple cities over. Sometimes we might be moving to a new state, maybe a few hours drive, maybe even a short flight. And rarely, maybe once in a lifetime, we'll move to an entirely new country. Maybe it's for a career opportunity or a chance to start a new life, or maybe it's because of turmoil in a country of origin and it's the only choice you have. But for whatever reason, putting down roots in a new place can be one of the most drastic and overwhelming ways to start over. And that's what we're talking about on today's show. In this episode of the Lisa Show's series on starting over, you're going to hear a conversation I had with Sanjay Krishna and Rahul Menon about how they started over after moving to the United States. And as we hear this conversation, I hope to do two things. First, I want to help any of you out there who, like I once did, are trying to start a new life in a new country where everything is alien and you don't know where to start. I hope that as you hear their story, you feel less alone in it and more empowered to find the happiness that you're looking for in your new home. And second, I want to motivate those of you who, while you may never make an international move, likely know someone who will and have a chance to love and support them in a way that no one else can. I want to show how much of a difference you can make in their lives as they start over. So, first things first, I asked Rahul and Sanjay to introduce themselves.
Hey guys, my name is Rahul Menon. I am originally born in India, but I grew up in the Middle East. I'm currently living in country number 4. Yeah, it's 31 years and I've lived in 4 countries. And so it's been a pretty nomadic life, to say the least.
And here's Sanjay.
I was born in India, but I grew up in the Middle East. And a fun fact, so like one of the reasons Rahul and I connect is because our families have been generational friends. So Rahul's dad and my dad have been friends since middle school or something like that. So it's we're pretty much continuing the tradition of surprisingly still staying friends. We're more like family at this point.
Like Rahul said, these two are no strangers to moving and starting over in a new place. That's why they were the perfect people to come and talk to us about this. But I asked them what it was about their emigration to the U.S. that was different. Here's how Rahul explained it.
So, 2016, the move from Dubai to Missouri was for me one of the hardest because I just got done with my bachelor's and here I am, taking a 16, 17-hour flight from Dubai to Missouri, right? And starting afresh, it was always easy knowing the fact that you've got friends or family and a support system close by without too much of a time zone difference, right? From India to Dubai, it's manageable. Suddenly I'm like, I think 10 hours behind my family and my friends. And I'm starting afresh. I'm in a brand new place. I don't know anybody. I have no friends. Family is far, far away. And you kind of start feeling alone just a little bit, the first couple of weeks before you kind of acclimate to the place, embrace that transition and say, you know what, okay, this is it. Let's take the plunge. Let's open ourselves to new people, new connections. Let's see what this place is to offer. So that transition period, that first 1 month, 1.5 months, for me was the toughest move. Because after that, okay, moving within the country is okay because you've still got friends. You've kind of gotten a support system in place after a while. But that first move intercontinental move, I'd like to call it. That was for me the toughest move, at least for me till date.
And here's how Sanjay described his initial experience.
Growing up in Dubai, like in the Middle East, it's generally a diverse place. There's people from a lot of different countries and stuff. And of course, the fact that we just started growing up as the internet was exploding, so we had a lot of exposure to American culture as it is, movies, music, that sort of stuff, and it plays a big part. And I always just think, I already know a lot about America, before deciding to move here. And this should be such an easy thing. And then I fly out to St. Louis, and I'm like, it's like a 2-hour drive it's a college town in Rolla, Missouri. And we are literally driving past cornfields and vineyards, and I'm like looking. I'm like, wait, this is not the land that was promised. I'm like imagining everywhere in the US, it's like Manhattan or downtown New York or something like that. And I'm totally flabbergasted. And like, okay, wait a second. I need a reality check.
What Sanjay is describing, that reality check, is one of the hardest parts of a big move. No matter how prepared you feel, no matter how much you think you know where you're moving, there will always be things that you can't predict and aren't aware of beforehand. And with a big international move like Rahul and Sanjay's, those unexpected surprises are multiplied 10 times. I had a similar reality check when I moved to England. I naively thought, well, we speak the same language. There's so much in common. It can't be that big of a difference. I was really wrong. Used to my home comforts with 2 little kids in tow, everything seemed different, from where I shopped for food and what food I bought and prepared to the size of my refrigerator. It was so small, and it changed the way that I had my whole kitchen time routine. I couldn't get access to our money because of a different banking sort of system. That caused a lot of problems. I didn't know anyone, and I didn't realize how foreign I looked and acted in a small seaside town of Dawlish, England. It was a lot of change, and I underestimated how everything would feel so unfamiliar. Now, everyone coming into a country is going to have different experiences, obviously, and every move comes with different reasons behind it. I knew mine, for example, was temporary and was only for a year or 2. In my case, I had a lot of privilege in being able to find comfort in a church community that was very familiar, and in a university community that understood why we were there and wanted to help. That was very reassuring and comforting. But for a lot of people, they don't have anything like that. But I still have to think that this is a universal experience. We all come with, I think, some unrealistic expectations about how different and how difficult it's going to be. In Rahul's case, he was moving to the U.S. to go to a graduate engineering program in Missouri. I asked him where he found comfort in those first difficult months.
If you're in grad school, especially in a university town, if you're from a country, something that I notice is you tend to band together, right? All the folks that come in kind of band together to form a tiny micro community on campus, right? So I think when I came in, if you're looking at the numbers, we had close to 60, 65 Indian students that year come in, right? So in all the activities, some of them were, activities that were hosted by specific student groups. So you kind of start banding together. And then before you know it, you've got like a whole community of brand new folks from the same country who all are lost, but together in the same place.
Yeah.
That kind of slowly eases that feeling of, oh my God, I'm so far away from home. You said, the food is always a comforting factor. So folks should get together, have cookouts, call their friends over. And then so small activities like this kind of helps you feel like, you know what? It's not home, but it's a home away from home.
This banding together that Rahul is describing is the kind of community that we've come back to again and again in the Starting Over series. Starting over is just so much easier when you have people around you who love and understand you. I really think that it's fundamental. And in this case, when you're moving to a new place and literally leaving your physical community behind, it feels more applicable than ever. Now, throughout the whole conversation, Sanjay and Rahul were quick to acknowledge that they had privileges that other immigrants often do not. They could afford to travel and to go to a university where they spoke the language. But even for them, all of the red tape and bureaucracy involving with starting over in a new country often felt overwhelming and dehumanizing. Here's how Rahul described trying to find his identity amidst a complicated and sometimes cruel immigration system.
So, when I first moved, I did not know the immigration system as I know it right now, right? So when I look back, the innocence with which I moved here, it's almost laughable, right? I was so naive back then, right?
Yeah.
No matter the degree, for an immigrant, right? No matter the degree that you have, your GPA, any other accolades you might have achieved in school, the university itself, your identity, it's interesting you mentioned that word. So I'm just going to use that. Your identity is your visa, right? Unfortunately, I could potentially have a cure for cancer under my bed right now, but still I will be an immigrant on an H-1B visa who is bound by the same rules and conditions that are set on visa holders. So that is the biggest hurdle. Finding my first job, just because of the fact that I was on a work visa, it's a lot of companies are not very pro-immigration, right? There are a lot, but many industries, it hasn't caught on as well as the others. So you clear multiple rounds, and then you finally reach that final round, and they're like, oh, you're on a visa. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, we have to rescind the offer.
Oh,
this can't
really?
go through. Yeah. So starting over, I feel that process is kind of semi-complete only when you're on your own 2 feet earning, not dependent on anything else, right? So to reach that final step, that final boss battle, if so as to say, it was like you're playing a video game in God mode. It was that difficult. Just because forget everything else, your technical knowledge, you need to actually have a certain amount of skills to actually convince that company that you're worth that investment that they're going to make. So for me, getting that first job, that was the biggest hurdle that I faced in this whole journey of starting over.
This is so interesting to me. Before my conversation with Rahul and Sanjay, I had no idea just how much stood in the way of them getting a job, even one that they were super qualified for. I asked Sanjay to explain why an employer might be reticent to hire a new immigrant, and here's what he had to say.
So there are two sides to this problem. There's a big demand for skilled jobs in the US. Like there's a lot of companies, they want folks who have these particular skill sets, with advanced degrees to do jobs. But at the same time, hiring immigrants who are on visas, so sponsoring them costs companies a lot more money than hiring a US citizen or a permanent resident here. So by default, the choice is, we don't want to hire somebody on a visa because we have to spend at least $20,000 to $30,000 more on them every couple of years. We'd rather find somebody who's local. And so that's the problem. So it's hard for students to get employers who understand the process. And then again, the third part is that the immigration system itself is really complex. You got to work with a law firm who, have these 500, 600 page documents that you submit as a petition to USCIS, get those approved, and then you get to work. And then that process repeats itself every couple of years. You got to keep renewing your petition and all that stuff. So it's frustrating for employers because, hey, we've got some really smart people here, but we don't know if we can afford paying all this extra money and keep doing that for the next few years. And for the students at the same time, we know we have the skills, but a lot of employers don't know the process on how to hire us, so they won't bother doing with it. So it's it's a precarious situation. Like that's why the thing is, the default option for a lot of students is, if you go to get a job in a really big firm, they obviously have done this.
Right.
So because they've just hired so many people over time that there's that internal tribal knowledge in the company. It's like, oh yeah, we know how to run this process. But if it's your small business that, I'd say like additive manufacturing firm that's based out of Kansas City, that's not a big, they hire 100 people there, and they've got a job offer for somebody who's got this particular skill set, but they have no idea how to get this person on their payroll without spending $30,000 on a law firm and doing all this payroll. They're like, you know what, forget it. We are not even doing this at all. Let's just run with what we have.
Yeah.
And so it sucks for everybody altogether. And that's, I think, this lack of awareness, I think, is the right word. That's making it's a two-sided problem.
As someone who grew up in the US, it is so hard to wrap my head around all of the individual obstacles that can come up for someone moving to a new country the way Sanjay and Rahul did. Here's another example. Sanjay told me about how something as simple as paying your bills can be much more complicated when you're new to the US.
So when you grow up in the US, like like if you're born in the US, something, you have, like, for most families and kids have this, that structure of, your bills are managed, there's money, and you slowly build up a credit profile over time. When you come in as a new immigrant, you have zero credit history. When I came here in 2014, zero credit history. And this is after, working for 5-6 years in the Middle East and all of that stuff. I'm back. I don't have access to loans or whatever, bank accounts and credit cards or whatever the case is. Be very, very, very particular about making your payments on time so that you build a good credit score. Because if you don't know that initially and you get dinged on those stuff, that can take a long time to get out.
Oh yeah.
And this is something like, it's I'd like to tell anybody who's new, like, hey, you're new, make sure you do this. Don't ever skip a payment. Like, do whatever it takes, save more money, don't spend as much until you're financially well settled. Or
what Sanjay is describing, something as simple as a credit score, is just one of the countless things that someone like me, raised in Nebraska, now living in Utah, might take for granted. I asked Sanjay what helped him make his way through the complicated process of starting over and settling into life here and finding success.
It's not like that I've been like super successful or anything of the sort, but I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger recently in an interview or something. He said, like, he's not a self-made man. Like, because there's so many people that have helped you on this journey here. It's selfish to claim that you are a self-made person, even if you've done it by yourself. There's too many to count. Like every single person. A lot of people might not even have realized their part in helping me feel that way, and I'm always grateful for that. When it comes to university, like later moving to California, moving here to the East Coast from there, like all over. Like it's been always there.
What I'm learning from Sanjay is that there is so much that I can do for the people in my community that are starting over. While I don't necessarily anticipate moving out of the country again anytime soon, although you never know, I know there will be people in my orbit who are trying to put down roots in a place that feels alien to them. I asked Rahul what kind of role community support played in his journey, and here's what he had to say.
So I don't know. I think I told you I was actually the commencement speaker at my graduation.
Wow.
So my topic that I spoke to my graduating class was acceptance and the fear of being rejected. So that was my topic. So it's like when you ask me this question and I say acceptance, I'm like, oh my God, it's like full circle. I'm talking about it again. But
I love it.
The class of 2018, I was the commencement speaker, and this was my topic. So, with some of the folks that I mentioned there, your university professors, your Office of International Affairs. From there onwards, as you go, your colleagues, your first manager, the first company that you work for, in the regular folks that you interact with, all of them have such critical fundamental roles to play in how confident you are today. All it takes is one bad boss, or all it takes is one bad experience early on to actually shut down that feeling of acceptance or feeling that you're actually here. I actually faced my first bit of mild racism, to say, a couple of, probably a year or two ago. When I was walking by the street with my friends, this was pretty late at the night, on a Friday night. A couple of folks were passing by, like, go back to your own country, right?
Yeah.
But this was so many years down the lane that it didn't bother me at all. It just flew by. And they're like, go back home. I'm like, you mean Providence, Rhode Island?
Yep, my neighborhood. All right.
What are you talking? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But when I thought about it some more, if I had that in my first year or my first couple of months into the country, that would have been more damaging to me as an individual than it is right now. Just because I've met so many good people, so many positive interactions and experiences, it was like a shield. It just bounced off me. I laughed it off. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't offended, to say the least. So, yeah, if you asked me about individuals and I thought about it, and I was like, there's so many people who've just met since 2016 that have come here till now. All of them have actually played such a critical role in actually kind of molding me into the person that I am today, able to voice my opinions without thinking, hey, what's the other person going to think about me? So, yeah, I'd like to thank all of them. It's too many to list out, but you know who you are, and thank you if you ever listen to this.
It may be once or twice in our lives, maybe, where we undergo a move as dramatic as Sanjay and Rahul's. But it's very likely that we'll know someone who's going through this experience. And maybe someone is coming to mind right now. And from what Rahul has to say about it, extending that hand of acceptance and support can be the difference between success and failure in a new place. I will never forget realizing what I had done. Moved to a new country with my husband and my 2 small children without really a good plan or any support. And I'll never forget getting a plate of cookies dropped off anonymously on our front doorstep with a note welcoming us to the country. I'll never forget it because I didn't anticipate it and I needed it so much. We had friends then who we figured out, they didn't stay anonymous for very long, who knew that we were new to the country. They were part of our faith community and they reached out and said, we're going to teach you how to live here. And one of the first things that they did was to take us out for proper fish and chips. I had had fish and I had French fries before, but as they explained, no, we're going to take you out for proper fish and chips. And that first meal that we had together was so encouraging. They were so excited to show us their country and what they loved about it. And it helped me feel less lonely about what I had left behind. Now, I could tell you a dozen stories just like that over the course of the time where we lived in England that made me feel part of that community that's so meaningful to me. And I remember thinking too, as we were getting ready to leave, how will I ever repay the kindness that these people who were strangers and treated me like family, how will I ever repay them? And I really feel like it's in how we extend that same kind of gratitude and hospitality to other people. I asked Sanjay and Rahul if their experience with acceptance has motivated them to reach out and do the same for others. Here's Rahul.
Have you seen Squid Games?
Yeah.
You know that bridge where you just put your feet and say, hey, is it going to collapse under my feet or not? That was us. Of course, that was our journey till now. Luckily, it's not collapsed. We're still standing on the bridge.
I'm really glad.
So when we see someone brand new, the whole point is like, hey, you know what? We're going to do our best to try educate you in what you need to do and what you don't need to do. You don't have to do. You don't have to give us anything for this. We're not looking for. We're not looking for anything in return. All we do is ask you to pay it forward. A couple of years down the lane, it will be your turn to meet someone brand new who's into the country. Make sure you let them know what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. Educate them. Let them know, hey, you know what? This. If you tread this path, you might not end up the way you want to end up. Maybe this is a safer path forward to reach the destination that you eventually hope to end up in. To take this path. So
I love that.
So that's kind of what we aspire to be. I don't think we've kind of even reached close to that, but we're trying. We're trying every day. That much I can assure you.
This is so inspiring to me. Sanjay and Rahul, who have been through their fair share of struggle and difficulty, are so committed to extending a helping hand to those who are trying to start over in a new country. How much more could I do to do the same, right? How much more empathy and love can I hold in my heart for those who are trying to forge a new life in a culture that's so different than their own? As I've been thinking about our conversation, my time to how much I felt like a stranger when I lived in England initially has come up. And a lot of the people who reached out to me were part of my faith community. And that's not lost on it. I think that as brothers and sisters of a loving God, you feel this, I certainly do, draw to help your fellow men. And these friends really took the scripture, there should be no strangers among you. You know, that loving kindness, that brother and sisterhood of enveloping strangers, bringing them into your home, showing hospitality and love. They took it really seriously. And I was very inspired by that. I still am. And I'm still motivated by that we need to watch out for each other. I mentioned earlier, but it has struck me again and again in each of these episodes about starting over. No matter how or where or why you need to start over, community is so important. And it really strikes me that when you feel like an outsider, when the community is new and you're trying to find your way in, that this is a different kind of starting over because you're so reliant on other people and the goodness and kindness of other people. In a world that's becoming increasingly divided and isolated, what once was a given to be kind and neighborly and to actually know who your neighbors are is becoming less and less a reality. And as such, I really feel like we need to make more of an effort to extend who we think is our neighbor. And we need to really look out for each other. Wouldn't it be great if we expressed our gratitude and love to God by the way that we treated our neighbors? I want to take that very seriously. So whether you're moving yourself or it's someone you know, we'll all benefit from thinking a little bit more about each other and taking the time to give each other the support and acceptance that we all so desperately crave and the connection that we all desperately need.
The Lisa Show is a production of BYU Radio, hosted by Lisa Valentine Clark and produced by Becca Hurley and McKay Menden, with help from Avery Stoneley, Blake Morse, Kenny Mears, and Michael Combs, with music and post-production by Gracie Davis and Kipling Merrill. Special thanks to our guest stars Rahul Menon and Sanjay Krishna, co-hosts of the Area 51 podcast. They can be found on Instagram at the Area 51 Podcast or at the link in our episode description. If you enjoy The Lisa Show, please leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can also join our listener community on Facebook and follow us on Instagram for more content and behind the scenes with Lisa.
Are you turned off by the news because of how angry and depressing it can be, but you still want to engage with important issues? Well, let me introduce you to Top of Mind, another podcast from the BYU Radio family. Each week, the Top of Mind team and award-winning host Julie Rose take one tough topic and they dive deep. The goal is learning to stay open and curious when confronted with perspectives that challenge us. Best of all, every episode will leave you feeling hopeful and empowered to become a better advocate for what matters to you. Top of Mind. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.